Welcome, everyone, to today's discussion about the San Francisco 49ers. In the next few moments, we're going to dive deep into some of the most exciting and thought-provoking topics surrounding the team. The offseason is always a time filled with speculation, and this year, there's a lot to talk about. One of the biggest pieces of news that's been circulating is the potential for the Niners to trade up in the 2025 NFL Draft. This would be a huge move for a team that already has a solid foundation, but is looking to make strategic moves to stay ahead of the competition. The question is, will they do it? And if they do, what would it take? And who could they be targeting? Now, if rumors are to be believed, the 49ers are particularly interested in Tyler Warren, the tight end out of Penn State. He's been creating quite a buzz in the draft community for his versatility and ability to make plays at a high level. Tyler Warren is often regarded as one of the top tight ends in this class, and his skill set seems like a perfect fit for what San Francisco might be looking for. But there's a catch here, and it's worth unpacking. The question we have to ask is, would it make sense for the Niners to trade up for a player like Warren? Would it be the right move for their roster and future? The answer isn't as straightforward as it might seem. While Warren is undoubtedly a talented player and could be an immediate contributor, the 49ers' current roster, especially the tight end position, is already stacked. You've got George Kittle, one of the league's best at the position, and a player who has been integral to the success of the offense in recent years. So, why would the Niners consider trading up for another tight end? The only real explanation here would be if they're planning to move on from Kittle in the near future. Kittle is entering the final year of his contract in 2025, and he'll be turning 32 in October of that year. As much as he's been one of the faces of the franchise, and as much as he continues to perform at a high level, the reality is that father time catches up with all players, even the great ones. And we have to consider the financial aspect of this. Just recently, a player from the Arizona Cardinals signed a contract worth $19 million per year. When you look at Kittle's situation, he could very easily argue that if a player like that is getting $19 million, he deserves at least $20 million per year. Kittle is undoubtedly worth it, considering his production on the field. He was named to the first-team All-Pro in 2023 and exceeded 1,000 yards for the season, making him one of the few tight ends in the NFL capable of doing that consistently. In fact, Kittle has managed to break the 1,000-yard mark multiple times in his career, showcasing his elite status at the position. Let's not forget about Kittle's chemistry with the team's quarterback, Brock Purdy. Since Purdy took over as the starting quarterback, Kittle has been there every step of the way, contributing massively with touchdowns and big plays in crucial moments. Their connection on the field has been electric, and it's clear that the quarterback and tight end have formed one of the most lethal duos in the NFL. So, if the Niners are thinking about extending Purdy's contract, which seems very likely given his development and the team's belief in him, would they also look to extend Kittle's contract to keep that duo intact for the long haul? That's where the financial side of things gets tricky. We've seen the Niners move on from some of their veteran players in the offseason, players who had big contracts and didn't necessarily fit into the team's future plans. The team has made it a point to reduce its salary cap space, but it still has a fair amount of money tied up in other contracts. So, if the 49ers are planning a mini rebuild of sorts, would they really invest that much money in a 32-year-old tight end? Kittle may be an icon in San Francisco and arguably the best tight end the team has ever had, but we have to face the reality of the business side of the NFL. It's hard to imagine Kittle wearing another team's jersey, but it's something we've seen happen before in the league. So, here's the million-dollar question. If the 49ers decide to trade up in the draft to select Tyler Warren, what does that say about Kittle's future with the team? Could this be a signal that the team is not planning to offer him an extension and is looking to transition to a younger player at the position? If that happens, it would be a tough pill to swallow for Niners fans, who have seen Kittle be one of the team's most dynamic and beloved players over the years. But again, the NFL is a business, and tough decisions have to be made all the time. At the same time, the 49ers are in a bit of a tough spot when it comes to their overall roster construction. They've made a lot of moves to bolster their team, but they still have some glaring holes to address. The offensive and defensive lines need some attention, and there's no question that these are areas that require immediate improvement. So, even though the interest in Warren is clear, the team has to consider whether a trade up for him is the best use of their resources. Let's take a step back for a moment and look at the bigger picture. The Niners are a team with a lot of potential and a lot of talent, but they also have some areas that need to be shored up. A move to trade up in the draft could certainly help them in the short term, especially if they're targeting a player who can contribute right away. But the real question is whether they can afford to make such a bold move, especially when there are more immediate needs on the roster that require their attention. In recent discussions, a list of potential trade-up targets has been circulating, and Tyler Warren is certainly one of the top names on that list. But there are other players who might be worth considering as well, especially in the trenches, where the Niners have some significant needs. Offensive and defensive line play is often overlooked, but we've seen time and time again that these positions are crucial for success in the NFL. If the Niners are serious about winning a Super Bowl, they need to make sure their lines are as strong as possible. In the past year, Warren has demonstrated his versatility, taking on multiple roles for Penn State, including tight end, fullback, and even quarterback in certain situations. His ability to line up in different spots on the field and make plays in various situations makes him a valuable asset. But is he the right fit for the Niners? That's the question the team will have to answer in the coming months. It's a delicate balancing act between adding a player who can contribute immediately and making sure the team's future is secure in all the right areas. The Niners' focus now has to be on what comes next. We all know that the quarterback position is crucial, and with Brock Purdy continuing to develop into a strong leader for the team, his contract situation is something that will be watched closely. Reports indicate that the team is hesitant to give him a massive contract extension right now, but if Purdy continues to grow and prove himself, it's only a matter of time before the team locks him down for the future. That being said, it's also clear that the 49ers can't afford to make Purdy the sole focal point of the offense. The rest of the roster needs to be built around him, with a strong supporting cast that includes a solid offensive line and weapons that can help him succeed. And let's not forget about the salary cap situation. The 49ers are going to have to make some tough decisions in the coming years, especially with the potential for massive contracts for key players. As the quarterback market continues to inflate, teams are going to be paying top dollar for their signal callers, and the Niners are going to need to plan accordingly. If Purdy continues to perform at a high level, his contract could easily exceed $50 million per year, and that's something the team will have to consider carefully. For now, the 49ers are in a position where they have to think about their long-term goals while also addressing the immediate needs of the team. Whether they decide to trade up in the draft for Tyler Warren or choose to address other areas of the roster, it's clear that the decisions they make in the next few months will have a huge impact on the future of the team. And as fans, we'll be here to watch every move they make, hoping they'll continue to build a team that can compete for championships in the years to come. As the San Francisco 49ers continue to navigate the challenges of roster building, one thing is clear: the decisions they make in the coming years will determine their path forward. With a team that's already stacked with talent, the challenge is not necessarily about adding superstars, but about making the right moves to complement their current roster. This is where the real intricacies of team construction come into play, especially when it comes to finding that balance between now and the future. Let's talk about the Niners quarterback situation. Brock Purdy, the young signal caller who took over last season, is continuing to develop into one of the most promising quarterbacks in the NFL. His performance over the past year has been nothing short of impressive, but the question remains: how much is the team willing to invest in him long-term? Reports suggest that the 49ers are cautious about committing to a massive contract extension for Purdy at this time, and that's a decision that will require a lot of careful consideration. The quarterback market is evolving rapidly, and the Niners will need to make sure they don't overextend themselves financially. If Purdy continues to perform at a high level, there's no question that he'll become one of the higher-paid quarterbacks in the league. However, the 49ers are aware that they can't put all their eggs in one basket when it comes to paying their quarterback. One of the biggest challenges for any team in the NFL is managing the salary cap, and the Niners are no exception. They have to be smart about how they allocate their resources and that means making sure they don't become overly reliant on one player, even if that player is their quarterback. The team's roster is already filled with several key players who will require extensions in the coming years, and that's something that the front office has to plan for. George Kittle, as we've discussed, is one of the team's biggest stars, but he's also one of the players who will need a new deal soon. Kittle is one of the most beloved figures in San Francisco, and his production on the field speaks for itself. But again, the reality of the NFL is that the team can't afford to give everyone a huge contract, especially if they want to remain competitive year after year. Another player who will need attention soon is Deebo Samuel. Samuel has proven to be one of the most dynamic and versatile players in the league, and he's another player who could command a significant contract extension in the near future. The 49ers will need to figure out how to balance these negotiations, all while continuing to build a roster that's capable of competing for championships. And then there's the defense, which has been one of the team's strongest units in recent years. The 49ers have some outstanding players on that side of the ball, but they'll need to make sure they continue to invest in the right spots. The defensive line is an area that's always in need of attention, especially with the way the NFL is evolving. Pass rushers are in high demand, and the Niners need to make sure they have the depth and talent to keep their defense at an elite level. The linebacker core is another area where the team has been successful, but it's important to maintain that depth and keep adding young, talented players to the mix. The secondary, too, is an area where the 49ers need to continue to improve. While the team has had success in recent years, there have been some concerns with consistency in the defensive backfield. The Niners have a strong core of players, but they need to make sure they're addressing the right needs when it comes to building that unit. The draft is a great place to find new talent, and it's likely that the team will look to add depth to the secondary in the coming seasons. The 49ers have always been a team that prioritizes toughness and physicality, and that's something that has served them well over the years. But as the game continues to evolve, the Niners will need to adjust their approach in order to remain competitive. The offense, in particular, will need to continue to evolve to keep up with the NFL's changing landscape. That means continuing to develop the running game and ensuring that the offensive line remains a strength. The Niners have a strong running back room, but with the increasing emphasis on passing, they'll need to make sure their offense can stretch the field and put pressure on opposing defenses. The other important factor to consider is the overall team chemistry and the culture within the locker room. The 49ers have always had a strong sense of unity, and that's something that head coach Kyle Shanahan has emphasized throughout his tenure. But as the team grows and changes, it's important to make sure that new players fit into that culture and can contribute to the team's success. The Niners have had a number of high-character players in recent years, and that's something that the front office needs to continue to prioritize. As the 49ers look to the future, one of the things they have to consider is how they're going to handle the quarterback situation long-term. Brock Purdy is still in the early stages of his career, but he's shown enough promise that the team is already thinking about his future. It's clear that the Niners want to build around him, but they also need to ensure that they don't overcommit financially, especially when the salary cap is going to continue to rise and change the dynamics of player contracts across the league. But to keep that success going, the team will need to continue to add young talent through the draft while making sure they don't get complacent with the players they already have. The roster is already full of playmakers, but there's always room for improvement. The 49ers have the foundation they need to remain a contender for years to come, but they'll need to make smart moves and continue to build on what they've started. Whether it's through the draft, free agency, or internal development, the next few seasons will be critical in shaping the future of this franchise. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to 49ers Zone and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the San Francisco 49ers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Imagine a defensive powerhouse joining one of the most dominant rosters in the NFL. Micah Parsons, the relentless linebacker from the Dallas Cowboys, has been the talk of the town. With his explosive performance on the field, especially his breathtaking 14-sack season in 2023, the thought of Parsons reinforcing the San Francisco 49ers' already intimidating defense is more than just a rumor. It's an electrifying possibility. The 49ers, with their Super Bowl aspirations, could gain the missing piece that would complete their defense, leaving opposing offenses trembling in their wake. The idea of Parsons joining forces with stars like Fred Warner and Nick Bosa would create a defensive unit that could arguably become the most feared in the league. Parsons, a two-time Pro Bowler, is known for his versatility, playing all across the linebacker core with a natural ability to rush the quarterback, disrupt plays, and control the game from the second level. His unmatched athleticism and high football IQ make him an instant game changer. Imagine the havoc he could wreak in the NFC West, with the 49ers already boasting one of the most well-rounded rosters in the NFL. But how realistic is this scenario? Parsons is a cornerstone for the Cowboys, and the team has just exercised his fifth-year option for the 2024 season. The likelihood of a trade or release seems slim, yet the allure of playing alongside a defensive juggernaut like Bosa could tempt Parsons. Additionally, the 49ers' strong salary cap position might make it possible to structure a deal that could fit both sides, making the dream of Parsons in red and gold not entirely out of reach. The 49ers' defense is already elite, but adding a player like Parsons could take it to another level. With his proven ability to rush the passer, create turnovers, and change the momentum of games, Parsons would give San Francisco a dynamic edge that could put them over the top in their pursuit of another NFC championship and, ultimately, a Super Bowl. The thought of pairing Parsons with Bosa is enough to make fans and analysts alike salivate at the possibilities. As the offseason progresses, one thing is certain. Micah Parsons' future is a story still unfolding. Will the 49ers make a bold move and try to land a rising star? Or will Parsons remain in Dallas, continuing to terrorize quarterbacks in the NFC East? Keep an eye on this developing situation. This might just be the blockbuster move that shakes the NFL to its core. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the San Francisco 49ers, make sure to subscribe to 49ers Zone and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.